I'll do a couple seconds here, and we are at the hour. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am LaShirley Lemire Bay, Program Manager for Camber Outdoors. I'm excited to be here today for our third Conversations with Camber webinar series, The Power of Allyship. Great to have some of you back, and welcome if this is your first conversation. Today will be an interactive webinar where Camber will share insights and industry leaders will join us to discuss the power of allyship and the impact it can have on individuals. We will share challenges, tips, and advice as many of you move towards making changes and progress in DEI within your workplaces and personal lives as you journey through your career in the outdoor industry. We have some featured speakers that I can't wait for you all to hear from that will speak about the power of allyship as well as the importance of allyship. Here at Camber, we are striving to use allyship to unite people and open doors that have previously been locked within the industry. We will continue to grow and develop as we work toward making programming more inclusive and reflective of needs of the society. The stories you will hear today are powerful. I want to remind us to shift from our heads to our hearts as we listen today. We also want to acknowledge and show respect to all native lands here on the call today. Before we get started, I want to make sure we take care of some housekeeping things and share some of the Camber norms will be very important today. This is a safe space to grow and develop with today's topic on allyship and experiences that will be shared. It is important to note that it is a safe place to share, learn, and grow. So please make sure that you are honest, be open-minded, be clear, be kind and courteous, and activate your growth mindset. Again, today will be a very interactive webinar. You'll have an opportunity to share and reflect a little bit. We'll also have an opportunity for you to ask some of our guests some questions, and so we'll be using our Zoom toolbar in order to do that. So if you want those questions answered, be sure to use that Zoom toolbar. We'll be using our chat to be a little bit more interactive today and share and kind of give our guests some encouragement today as they move through. Let's take a look at our agenda today. First, we'll have a little bit of a quote introduction. Then we'll have a special message from our CEO, Tiffany Smith. We'll also do a Keen sponsor spotlight. Really excited for that today, as well as our guest allyship experiences that will be shared. We'll have Q&A, Camber resources and reminders will be shared, and then we'll have our closing remarks. Before we dive in today, I want to share a quote with you that resonates with our topic and the experiences that will be shared. The privilege you enjoy comes at someone else's expense. The privilege that you're hoarding could be put to good use. It could be used to create space, opportunity, resources, and amplification for someone else. Not because they need your saving, but because that's what you do with what you didn't earn. It's not charity, it's solidarity. It's a profound quote from Brittany Packnett Cunningham, an activist, educator, and writer, and I believe it really sets the tone for what we're going to experience today. Briefly, I want to give an opportunity for our CEO to pop on and give a special message. So Tiffany, without further ado, you have the floor.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Super excited to have you all here today to share with us for this powerful conversation with Camber on behalf of our board of directors and the entire Camber team. We are immensely glad that you are here. As we find ourselves amidst Hispanic Heritage Month, it's essential to acknowledge the rich culture, the stories, and the experiences that shape our world. And this month really serves as a reminder that our individual heritages are not just stories of the past, but guiding lights for our shared future. Imagine with me for a moment. Imagine with me that you're navigating a maze. At times, the path is lit, but often shadows loom very large. Now, envision with me a fellow traveler on this maze with you, lighting a torch, illuminating your path. That, at its heart, is allyship. It's not about leading the way, but ensuring that no one has to traverse the path of darkness alone. The beauty of allyship is how it intertwines with heritage. By standing as allies, we not only support those around us, but also become custodians of their rich legacies and histories. And in doing so, we enrich our own understanding of the world that we live in. Workspaces, communities, economies all flourish when the power of heritage and the strength of allyship converge. It's simple mathematics: more perspectives equal richer solutions. I want to say that again: more perspectives equal richer solutions. In a world yearning for innovative answers, can we afford to sideline any voice or any heritage? And the answer, as you and I know, is no, we cannot. And because of that, and because of that understanding, I am immensely proud that at Camber, in partnership with Keen, we have taken this understanding to heart. And we launched a few years ago the Allyship program. And this initiative wasn't just about workshops or modules. It was truly a commitment from the leadership at Keen alongside with us at Camber, a pledge to stand by every underrepresented voice in the outdoor industry. Over the last few years, our program was a pilot, and we learned so much around the relationship and what allyship in perspective of gender, around male allies and female allies. And as we begin to learn more, we're proud to say that next year we're going to be launching more focus groups to really talk through the intersections that we're finding around allyship beyond gender. And we'll have more information to come around how you can participate within that development of that programming and the richness of where we're taking our allyship program in the years to come. But before we begin to really dig in deep there, I have a special guest that's going to join me today. Tracy from Keen is a board member, first and foremost, of Camber Outdoors. She is a passionate, creative, strategic HR professional with over 30 years of experience. She spent 19 years guiding human resources prior to Keen at Portland Trailblazers. She has been a long-term advocate and volunteer. Tracy was awarded the Woman of the Spirit Award in her community. We cannot say how much Tracy has been just a phenomenal contribution to not just what we do at Camber, but more in particular, making sure that we are providing inclusive practices for all. And Tracy, I am so excited to be able to have you join us today and talk a little bit about your journey, about allyship, and about why it was important for Keen to really develop this program. Tracy?
Thanks so much, Tiffany. And your opening remarks were so beautiful. I'm a little emotional about them.
Oh, I love that,
yeah,
Tracy.
so thank you for that. I had, Tiffany said, been in the business for more than 30 years, but I've worked in 3 different industries. I started my career in pulp and paper, and then I moved to professional basketball, and now here in the outdoor industry. And the one thing all 3 of those industries had in common was that they were very male dominated. But I was very fortunate early in my career to have allies, male allies, when I was in a very traditional manufacturing environment, working in labor relations. And I had people take me under their wings and just help me understand more about the dynamics and the strategies. And they would prep me before meetings and then allow me to participate and then follow up afterwards. And I really felt like they valued my opinion and thoughts, and that they really valued what I brought to the table that was different than, what existed at the time. And so that helped me, build confidence, and I will be forever grateful for their allyship and mentorship when I was early in my career. In terms of Keen sponsoring this program, we realized that the people that had power and privilege, they weren't really figuring out a way that they could be better advocates or allies. And so through the Camber program, we helped executives learn how to be better allies and build a better, future for the outdoor industry. And Keene's very proud to be a sponsor of this program. And I just want to thank Camber for your partnership. And I'm very excited to listen to the speakers today and just learn more about the power of allyship.
I love that so much, Tracy. And I also loved how you shared early on in your career that you had that support from allies. What would you tell potentially like some millennial team members or influencers that may be on now? What would you tell them on exactly what they should look for or what they should be expecting when looking for an ally?
That's a really good question. I think someone who is genuine and authentic about wanting to be an ally themselves. So that means that they need to be open to learning and understanding, and that they're just taking a genuine and authentic approach to learning how to, support you as an individual, and probably someone that, you have respect for and admire. But you'd want to make sure that they were also willing to be vulnerable and open and, learn from and able to have a partnership where you're actually learning from each other.
I love that. I love that so much because allyship has so many depths and so many ways that you can really support and kind of garner exactly what you need to have the confidence to lead in a space that potentially you could be the only. And I'll say this, Tracy, is that when I joined the Camber team, you were always that to me. You were always transparent and authentic. And a lot of times when you feel like the only being a Black woman in the outdoor industry, for me, it was a new industry when I joined almost 3 years ago. And to have that partnership and to have that just authentic voice afforded me that same experience that you received before in reference to just building the confidence of being able to lead and being able to do the things that you need to do. And so I really don't want anyone that's listening to kind of just bypass like just those moments of candid conversation, transparent moments, and truly standing alongside and offering that light and that guiding light. And because you have also been that for me, Tracy, as a part of the board with Camber here. And I am truly grateful for the partnership that we've had with Keene. And as we're forging ahead and as we're thinking about what is next, Keene has always just been such a forward thinking in this space and even in the industry. And it's good to see leaders, corporate leaders, be able to engage in the way that at the time could have been looked at as unconventional or non-traditional, and really being a game changer in the space. So Tracy, thank you so much for taking just a few moments just to come on and set the tone and set the stage for all leaders across the industry, that this is how we support, this is how we truly have impact beyond our own corporate offices. And this is how, as a collective, we're really going to see change in the industry. So thank you so much, Tracy, for joining us today. Thank you for sharing a part of your story today. And we look forward to what is next with allyship in the industry.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. I look forward to the rest of this program. So let's move on.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm super excited about what's coming up next. LaCheryl is going to come back on and join us and guide us through. But as she's coming back on, LaCheryl kind of touched on it a little bit, that we want your hearts to be open today to really receive the messages that you're going to hear and the experiences that you're going to hear today. This is not a head conversation. This is a heart conversation. And when I say that, I mean this is that we want to take out the rationale and open up our hearts to just receive the experiences and explore how we can make sure that our impact is just that, one that has positive impact and change to make this industry all that we know it could be. So without further ado, LaShera, I'll pass it back over to you.
Tiffany, thank you so much. And Tiffany and Tracy, we really want to thank you for the awesome intro to our conversation. Couldn't have picked a better conversation to start with. So I really appreciate that. And kind of moving forward, we want to make sure that we kind of get our guests a little bit reflective of allyship from their own perspective. So this is an opportunity now for us to be a little bit more interactive today. So if you have your cell phone, you can take that out. You can use that during this webinar to scan the code that you see there. You can also use the code down below to enter so that we can kind of reflect on the question that you see here. So before we get started, let's really define allyship. I want you to describe what allyship means to you in one word. In one word. So we'll take a few minutes here, a couple seconds, to really hone in on what allyship means, and we'll see kind of the beautiful representation here on the screen. So let's kind of let it load here. Already seeing some powerful statements. Wow. I'm seeing advocacy, authenticity, promotion. Love that. Advocate seems to kind of be a very pronounced. Support. Very awesome. Nice. We'll continue to let that roll a little bit. I just wanted to give us an opportunity to be very reflective and think about what allyship means to us here in the room. But we also want to make sure that we level set a little bit to ensure that we also have a concise explanation of what allyship is as well. Thank you for that. So before we move on, we want to kind of define terms. And these are a lot of terms that a lot of people see as synonymous or the same. And so we want to make sure that we iron that out as we move forward. Of course, we have mentorship. A lot of people are used to hearing that. Sponsorship, of course, but we want to hone in on allyship. And when you look at allyship, a lot of the words that we chose here kind of popped up. So we see supportive, association, and advocacy is one of those words that really stuck out with another person or group. So as we are kind of moving along today, I want us to really hone in on those definitions and that specific definition of allyship so that we can really capture the essence of the experiences today. Thank you for that. Before we move forward, I am so excited to announce our guests for today. And I'm going to kind of give an opportunity for us to learn a little bit more about them. They'll share a little bit as well. First up, we are going to have our first guest. Very excited to have her up. But before we do, I'll read a little bit of a disclaimer just to kind of make sure that everybody's kind of comfortable where we are today. So before our guests share their stories, I want to level set a bit and remind everyone that this is a safe space to share, develop, and grow. Some of our guest allyship experiences will open the conversation to how we can continue to improve our understanding of allyship and what it truly means to be an ally and receive allyship from others. We may not all share the same views, but we must remember to be receptive of the views of others. Now is a great time to activate that growth mindset as we slide into our conversation. So before we bring Abigail in, I want to kind of warm the room up a little bit. Go ahead and drop those hearts into the chat just to kind of encourage her. We have some very transparent guests today, so I'm really excited. First up, we have Abigail Sharpless, originally from Durham, North Carolina. She now resides in Dallas. We're kind of neighbors there, so thank you for that, Abigail. She attended Clemson University for her undergrad and got her certification in diversity and inclusion through Cornell University. Her career journey started in supporting individuals with physical and physiological disabilities, eventually leading her to her role in promoting DEI within the running space. She is currently the program manager for Running Industry Diversity Coalition and a nonprofit focused on bringing racial justice to the running industry. So let's welcome Abigail on in. Abigail, awesome to have you here today. Great to connect again. I know we had some time there to take the lead to kind of really explore some of those avenues, and just again, great to see you again. Before we move forward, we had a really honest and kind of powerful conversation about your personal goals, right? And some of your reflection on allyship. If you would, can you talk to us a little bit about your personal connection to allyship? And also really talk to us about your first ally, which was a very powerful story.
Yes. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me here. Thank you for the wow intro. Tried to jump on with my screen. But yes, we actually, right before this call, we were talking about how allyship, this conversation actually brought up a lot more emotions than I was expecting. And in part being because my first ally was my mother. So I'm biracial, I identify as Black or biracial. My mom is white and my father is Black. And when they got married, my mother was disowned from her family for that decision. And from a very young age, she set a really high standard for what allyship looks like. Because I think for her, her allyship started before she even made the choice to get married. It started by choosing to seek out deeper relationships with people from a community outside of what she knew, very well aware of the repercussions that it could come with. And then it was continuous. Like to this day, as a parent, she continues to actively seek out learning of how she can be a better mother to Black children, a better family member in a Black family, a better community member. So she's kind of shown that allyship is limitless, you know, even when it calls for great sacrifice, like that is what you're called to do. And then it's also been like, I've seen the power that allyship can really have. It can be generational, you know, because of her choice back then, and then her continuous choices as a parent, and as an ally to us, her family and her community. I'm here. I'm doing the job I'm doing now. Her grandchildren exist and live in a multicultural home. I mean, so much has been paid forward from that action. So yeah, I mean, I have a great example.
Outstanding, Abigail. I really appreciate that. I know in our conversation, we talked a little bit about some of the senior level people in your life who kind of helped sculpt your career and kind of helped lead you. If you mind speaking towards that a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I've had some people who showed up in really pivotal moments for me. I am not exaggerating when I say I would not be in the position I am today without the support of some of these people. Obviously, I mean, I can only do so much, but there were rooms I was excluded from. And early on at certain jobs, I can name people: Robin Goby, Danny Tilton, Peyton West, like some amazing women who made sure that I was invited to spaces I otherwise wouldn't have been considered for, who stood up for me to get education I otherwise couldn't have afforded, who made sure I was around people who had the power to make decisions. And I wasn't just talking to them, I was actually influencing those decisions and then how those decisions were carried out. So I had some people really stand up on my behalf, and make sure that I was centered at times when I don't even know that I felt I had the confidence or space to do so. So yeah.
That's awesome. I really like how you kind of talked about a little bit offline as well. Allyship being a little bit of a verb and kind of sliding into your career with RIDC. Just kind of talk about what you mean by that. What do you mean by allyship as a verb and in relation to what you do at RIDC?
That is my favorite thing to say when we talk about allyship. Allyship is defined by the action that follows what you say. For me, I think I've always seen allyship as something, or being an ally as something that I can't define for myself. The community that I am there to support can identify how I'm an ally to them. And the only way they can do that is by seeing my actions. What do I offer? And I think at the RIDC, I've carried that into the way we've been able to be allies to other communities. Whether it's our research, we always include a call to action. Whether it's our blogs, you're going to have resources to go to afterwards to engage with other organizations. Whether it's our workshops, which we have one next week, next Tuesday. I'm going to plug that. We'll drop it in the chat. But we have a workshop coming up in partnership with Rising Hearts, where it's sharing our platform. And even in our workshops, you're going to get a call to action at the end. What can you do besides just getting information, which it is our responsibility to stay informed and to be informed, but how can you take that information, pass it forward, and then turn it into actionable items moving forward, so you can actually create change for the community you're aiming to support?
Outstanding, Abigail. I mean, you've done a great job over there as program manager for IDC, and I see now hearing your journey about allyship, where it comes from. So kudos to your mom and all the work she's done with you. She's done an amazing job, and we appreciate having you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Team
fellow
is-
program manager.
Absolutely. Program manager to program manager for sure. If you would drop some hearts in the chat for Abigail, an amazing story, great journey there, powerful hearing that her first ally was her mother. So I really wanted to share that experience with you all. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did having that conversation with her. Next up, we have another powerful speaker for you. We have Werner Volker. So please drop some fire chats in the emojis in the chat for me. Can't even get it out. I'm so excited to have her on. So please, some hearts, some fire emojis there as we have Werner on. Describe Werner. I asked her that question, right? And she said that she is a mom, a wife, and an advocate. Love that. She's a HOKA Global Ambassador and Santa Ambassador. She's from the Navajo Nation. She grew up in the North New Mexico area. She currently lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota with her husband and 4 children, so go Midwest. She belongs to 4 clans, and she'll expand on that a little bit as she kind of talks about her history. In 2009, she started her running journey to lose weight, which eventually turned into a quest to find out more about herself. That journey has taken her from the newbie runner to an experienced marathon runner, so I love that. Welcome on, Verna. Verna, if you would unmute and kind of talk to us a little bit. Happy to have you here. How are you feeling today?
Yes, that's good. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Verna, and let's go back to LaCheryl. She was trying to pronounce the clan, so I'm gonna help her. So I am from the Twitchini Nashlan Shibashin, Kanazani Dashe, Toheglini Dashanala. I am born of the Bitterwater Mud people, of the Tangle people, and the water flows together. So yes, thank you so much for inviting me here.
Absolutely, Verna. Thanks for being here. We just really are excited to have an impactful conversation with you as we had a powerful conversation offline. I really want you to kind of talk about you founding Native Women Running. I just love the foundation of that organization and some of the experiences you've had with allyship along the way. If you could expand on that journey, starting your organization and how allyship has impacted your journey.
Yes, so I started Native Woman Running simply as an Instagram account because I didn't see myself in running. I feel like when I would go to trail races, especially trail races, that I would only see, I didn't see anyone that looked like me. And at the time I had a lot of Native women who were following me, who were doing amazing stuff. And I was wondering, why isn't anyone sharing these stories? And when I did research, it was like far and few natives or just certain runners, that body type. And so I thought, let's do something about it. And so it's been 5 years and it's exploded, I think, in the last 2 years of just bringing visibility to our Native community, our Native women runners, and how much it's not only about running, but it's become like more of a spiritual journey for a lot of our women. And I'm so honored to be able to lead something we often say it's a movement, and I'm pretty proud of it. Allyship is something that I struggle with sometimes. I've had really good experiences of people who want to partner with me, who have been very open to building. I think one of my main thing is building authentic relationships in this space. As a Native person, oftentimes it's hard to trust people who are non-natives. And so I do my best to just make it clear that partnership is not just a one done deal, that I want this relationship to be continuous. And I feel like a lot of who partners with us and sponsors us they really stepped up. And also I've had the bad experience of people who say they want to support us and be there for you. At the end, allyship go wrong, which left me, when you are in that space trying to work with someone and they dismiss you because of accountability, then from there on, you stand up to what's right. And there's that the effects of just being gaslit and being shamed and actually turning my own people against me, which is very harmful. And I think we talk about that, how allyship is a word, but it can actually go deep, because I feel from that experience really traumatized me, where I'm a little bit more guarded in who I choose to align with. And I am grateful for those who always listen to this story, because I bring this story up a lot of this experience. So just letting people know that I'm not going to be a token runner. I'm not going to be a one done deal. Because for me, my community, it's not about me. It's about the thousands of Native women who I want to get at these races, I think is really what really drives me every day in this work.
Wow, that's a powerful story. Really appreciate you being transparent. I know that can be emotional to share that, so we appreciate you being so candid. One of the things I really want to kind of hone in on is some people have probably had similar experiences to you, Verna. So if you could kind of expand on how the healing process from your past experiences from allyship have kind of helped you understand what you need from a future ally. So what do you as a Native woman want from an ally?
Oh, there's so much. I think just listening and learning. I particularly have a partnership with a hydration pack called, I'm going to give them a shout out, Naked Sports Innovation. It's run by two white gentlemen, and they've really have just been open and listening, and even actually traveling to the reservation and being part of that, and not trying to be the savior. And I think one of the things I always remember them telling me, even today, is like, Verna, we will follow your lead. We will be in your shadows. And as a Native woman in this work, like that means so much about listening and learning and and not being the savior, and understanding and knowing that for me as a Native woman, this is more deep, the trauma of like historical to generational, our trauma, and having to navigate, because sometimes it's silly because I think this is just running and this is just like the outdoors, but it's so much more of my life where I have to carry all that. And so I think that's been the hardest part, and sometimes lonely. But I'm grateful for people who want to listen to that story and these stories and want to make a change and an impact.
Wow, Verna, thank you so much. A very powerful story. I know a lot of people can learn on both sides from your experience, so we appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. If you would drop some hearts in the chat for her for that emotional test, it's kind of a testimonial, kind of an experience share there. We really appreciate that. Thank you, Verna. Next up, and last but not least, we have Vanessa Perlotta Mitchell. Excited to have you on, lady. Founder of VCPN Game Changers, right? So she's from Hackensack, New Jersey, and now resides in Northtown, Pennsylvania, near Philadelphia. Vanessa is the owner of VCPM Inc., a business dedicated to using the power of the pavement, love that, to empower women to live a life without limits. She takes her passion for running and turned it into her purpose with the Game Changers program. So excited to have you on. How you feeling today, Vanessa?
I'm feeling really good and excited. I love Abigail and Verna so much. So this is all the perfect ingredients for a great recipe.
Absolutely. Kind of feels like a little bit of a reunion. So awesome to have you on. We also had a very powerful conversation offline, and we talked a little bit about you connecting the view you had about allyship and kind of the perspective of preparing people to receive that allyship. I think that's a very important piece that may be missing from the conversation. We talk about building those allies, but how do you receive the allyship? So if you would kind of dip into that as well as your organization.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about it all. So my name is Vanessa Peralta Mitchell, creator of the Game Changers program. We provide resources and funds so more women of color can become certified run coaches and redefine who people see in the running industry as a leader, as an expert. So just to give you a little bit background there's 3 components to our program. And so that's certification funding, that's business strategy, and mentorship. So our structured 6-month mentorship is certainly our secret sauce, like I like to say, because we have fellow women of color who are already certified with a little bit more skin in the game that are willing to really pour into the next generation of run leaders, even though that they've never really been poured into themselves. So that alone is definitely powerful. But I know you wanted me to talk a little bit about how to receive allyship as well. And so before I go into some examples of how I've experienced allyship, I definitely want to say receiving allyship is not always second nature. What's second nature to us, and I'm talking from my own experience as well, right, is doing it ourselves, or getting support from maybe family or a community. I think that traditionally we seek support from people we know. And I clearly remember when people will come to this country from Ecuador, they looked to my father as a resource. They didn't seek the grants or the programs or even people they didn't know. And honestly, neither did my father, right? Perhaps he didn't know what resources were available to him or what type of connections he can make. And I definitely know back then that the word ally, wasn't even in society's vocabulary when my parents came to America. But I think the beauty here is that we get to be the evolution of that narrative, right? We don't have to do it all on our own. And it's important to have that awareness that simply being given an opportunity or support doesn't mean that we know exactly what to do with it. And I think that's okay. It's not something that has been passed down to us. So for me, this translates to being open, and receiving support and knowing exactly where I can put that support or what I can do with it. And even if I don't know, having the proper allies so we can have that conversation because they understand the journey, even though they're not part of the same community. So we keep this in mind too with our Game Changers program, and that we don't simply offer women an opportunity to become a certified run coach. We offer them tools and resources so that they can really be empowered to go from that community runner to industry leader, so that we can stay right in the industry and in fact lead the change.
Love that. You talked a lot about kind of that empowerment, and I really like the conversation you talked about with your father. A lot of times we don't use that word culturally. Sometimes between our cultures of what allyship truly is, we receive it a lot. So thank you for kind of expanding on what that means. And I think a lot of people were able to receive that as well about your conversation about what it is to feel like to have allyship in your life. So thank you for that. We appreciate you, Vanessa. Thank you. Sweet. Told y'all we was in for a treat. That's awesome. We're going to move on now, give an opportunity for you to really kind of talk to our guest and kind of share any questions that you may have. I know a lot of things may have kind of been brewing while you were kind of listening to that conversation. So if you would drop your questions into the Q&A toolbar. At this time, I want to invite one of our guests back, specifically Tiffany. I want to kick it off with a conversation with you, if you would. So Tiffany, if you would join us back, would love it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cheryl, wow, right?
Powerful, very powerful.
So powerful.
Mhm.
Okay, I won't even get into it, but just wow, powerful, powerful.
For sure. For sure. Just elated to have the ladies on to be able to kind of share the sentiments about allyship, and we'll kind of continue to expand. But first, Tiffany, I wanted to kind of kick the discussion off with a little bit of what you talked about in your message earlier. You talked about the relationship between King and Camber, really enjoying our relationship and our partnership there. And we also talked about the future of the allyship program that Camber has and kind of what we look forward to in 2024 and beyond. So I kind of wanted you to expand a little bit on what the future looks like for the Camber Allyship 101 program.
Yeah, absolutely. Our allyship program, we kicked it off initially as a pilot, really solely focused on male and female executive leaders. And we have served, I think, close to over 175 executive leaders since the inception, and it hasn't been around that long. But as we begin to really dial in deeper, and even with the data that we collect with our Camber survey system, we see that there are a lot of different intersections around allyship that we've only scratched the surface of it. And so as we're thinking about next year, and as we're understanding how there's intersection and overlap with individual experiences, we want to expand our reach. We want to make sure that we're representing everyone within this space. And so next year, we're going to launch some focus groups that are going to be safe spaces, conversations. So we're asking for those of you that are on this particular call to join our focus groups next year. Throughout the year, we're going to have a few focus groups to expand our programming to make sure that every voice, that every experience is not just heard, but positioned to win in the industry. So I'm just looking forward to even hearing like some of the questions that some of our guests may have around allyship and around the different pieces. But we are committed at Camber, as you can see, to not only just providing space for our partners, but really being a resource for the industry in the most impactful, resourceful way that we can as a nonprofit.
I appreciate that, Tiffany. Really excited about 2024. We've learned a lot in 2023 and before that, and just excited to kind of take that into fruition for 2024. Mindy, thank you for dropping the interest form there for the focus group. We're excited to hear your voices. We really want to make this program in support of what our society looks like and be reflective of that. So if you would take the opportunity to fill that form out as we kind of gear up for 2024 allyship recruitment towards the end of the winter. We will be excited to look at that focus group and see kind of what we can bring to the table. So Tiffany, we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
We can bring all of our guests back on, Vanessa, Verna, and Abigail. You can pop back on here. We'll see if we have any questions. If you have any questions, kind of go ahead and drop those into the Q&A toolbar. And we have one. We see here, how can we be supportive in meeting allies in the making where they are at, while also making sure we don't soften the urgency and depth of importance of allyship. So a lot of people want to jump in and be an ally, but they're not so sure where to start, comfort levels. Just kind of, if you would, maybe I could say, Abigail, since you have the event coming up and you're really, kind of gearing towards people to be involved, is that an opportunity that you see? And if you can expand on that a little bit.
Sure, I'm going to read this question one more time because that came at me.
No worries, no worries, no worries.
While also making sure we don't soften the urgency and depth of importance. I think that's such a good point. Well, one, I think it starts by making sure they're positioned to listen to the needs of the community that they're trying to help. I feel like if you can get there first, then you can start by saying, look, there's some things, especially with the RIDC. I know, for example, there's some things we need right now. We need partnerships. We need financial commitment because that's how we get this work done. We have things on the calendar. We need you to show up. We need you to promote it. We need you to spread it. Those are those more urgent items that I don't need a whole lot of thought on, just your participation and willingness. But also in the effort of being more effective allies, I think that's when it comes to okay, how can we share information about how can your allyship be most useful to us? For example, with the RIDC, we have research that will really inform how you can show up as an ally and challenge you to think within yourself. What do I need to push myself forward on? Or what do I need to educate myself more about to be more useful in the industry to the people of color trying to be leaders here? But in the meantime, I can also celebrate these people of color. I can show up to the RIDC's having an event at the running event. We're calling it the cookout. It's a party. It's a way to celebrate the other cultures and people here. We're more than just our struggle. So it's a balance. I think it's educating yourself and encouraging them to continue to learn, remembering that becoming an ally, like I said before, is an ongoing journey. You don't have to start with perfection to be involved and to show up for a community. And you can also, if you have no other resource, if you don't know where to begin, start with celebrating. Start with loving on the community. Start with getting to know them more. Start with trying to foster deeper relationships. And in that will be a natural process to help you become a better ally. I hope that was what the question was about.
That was good. That was on point. That was on point. That was really good. I think one of the things that you really pointed to was building those relationships. Relationships start with trust, transparency, being active and visible, but also listening. So I think you nailed it and added some really good points in there. Thank you for that, Abigail. We have another really good question here in the chat. And one of the things I kind of honed in on that question, it says, what are some ways to approach being an ally without being perceived as a white savior? A lot of times we kind of see that savior complex being kind of formed. And so we want to kind of, sensitively talk about, if we could, what that means and kind of your perceptions about that. How do people avoid looking at being a savior when they go into allyship? Maybe Verna, if you could touch on that a little bit based on your experiences.
Yes, I think not rushing into, like for me, when people ask me how I can be an ally, I'm like, just simply follow us on our social media, participate in our events that we have. I think those are key in just developing just a slow relationship, because I'm at the point where I'm just very guarded now. And just for me, I'm very just slow about, I need to know who you are. I need to see what your intentions are, because I feel like that just creates a friendship that you learn to trust. And I think any relationship that we have just takes time and trust. And I think that's important. I'm pretty much aware if someone's just trying to save us. And so I think just having us, like having our guard up and just just kind of reading people, but I think just really simple acts of you learning, you listening, learning about the Native culture, following our accounts, participating in our events, just very simple things I feel like I want people to do for us.
Love that. A lot of that is just kind of absorbing the culture, right? And you talked a little bit about following accounts and just kind of being mindful of some of the events that are going on and things like that, some of the cultural practices. So I appreciate you being transparent about that. That's really important. Did you want to expand on that a little bit for us as well, Vanessa?
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe it touches a little bit on both the things. Allyship is not about fixing, right? You're not coming in to fix anything or anyone. Collectively, we need to all put in the work and recognize our role in that. Allyship is not a one-time action. It's an ongoing thing. It's not active. It is active. It's not passive. And being an ally means really just that consistent behavior, right? To uplift someone else's voice, to create those platforms, to shine a light so other voices can be heard. So when I think about when you talk about the allies in the making, or how do you come in and not be, this white savior as someone labeled it, it's about understanding that you're not here to fix something. You're here to pull up your sleeves, get in there and do the work alongside of us.
Really like that. Really like that. Ladies, a wealth of knowledge has been shared today. I hope that our attendees and guests have been able to kind of receive a lot of the information that you put out. I don't see any other questions in there, but again, if you have some as we kind of filter through, would love for you to share those. Any last words that we have from our guests that you would like to share? Anything you want to say?
I think I'll add on just that last question. Such great points. And I think just pulling from like the example of my mom, for example, how to avoid being that white savior. I think humanizing us again too. We're people. We're not just the struggle. We're not just the challenge. We're not just the problems that we're facing. So I think if you really internalize, I'm helping a human being, like this is their experience that they're going through. Even if I come in at this key moment, I didn't wrap up their life and all of their problems by being there in that momentary thing. Like Vanessa was saying, it's an ongoing relationship. So I just wanted to add to that point. We're human beings.
Love that. We are what we are beyond the struggle. That's powerful. Thank you. Perfect way to end that segue there. So thank you. Again, thank you to our guests. We really appreciate you being transparent. If you would, some fire and some hearts and the emojis. These ladies have shared their stories, and we appreciate them being transparent. So thank you. Wow, had to take a deep breath there after that. That was a lot to take in, but again, very powerful and much needed to the conversation here in the outdoor industry. I hope you enjoyed that. At this point, we kind of want to move forward. We want to make sure that we share a couple things for you. I saw that the Google form, we'll have that open for you as soon as possible here, soon after the webinar. But we do want to share a few other things that are coming up here for Camber, as well as some takeaways here. We don't want to leave you hanging. We want to make sure that you can kind of walk away from this conversation and move into that action that we kind of spoke about. So first up, we want to kind of acknowledge a lot of the things that our guests spoke about. And so we have this acronym here to kind of help you remember a lot of the things that were spoken today. So acknowledge your privilege, listen and learn from others, leverage your privilege, right? So we use it in a way to be helpful and impactful for others, and yield and be willing to step back and let the underrepresented lead the way. So just wanted to make sure that we left you with a little bit of that to kind of let you sit with as you walk into your journey with allyship. The next thing, we wanted to make sure you have some tangible things as well. And so we have some Camber resources here for you. It's a one-page document, and on those 3 pages, we'll kind of outline what we have here. If you scan there, you should be able to view it. And if you click on the link, we'll drop that there for you in the chat. You should also be able to make yourself a copy. On that first page, you'll see there that we have Be an Ally. So if you're really interested, invested in being an ally, it's kind of a worksheet you can walk yourself through that will ask you some very pertinent questions to lead you into that allyship. On page 2, we have Build an Ally, and that'll give you an opportunity to really walk away and say, okay, I need an ally in my life. how do I go about doing that? And what am I looking for, right? Some very candid and transparent questions for you. And then lastly, a kind of combination for both. We have a very nice reading list there for you, including a book from one of our facilitators here at our own allyship program. And so we want to make sure that we share that information with you and that you can take all the information that you had here and walk away with some very important tools and resources there. We also want to make sure that we are inviting you back. These conversations are heating up. They're getting very good. I hope you are enjoying them. We have a few more that are coming up here. The first one being in November. It's going to be a good one on really talking about recruitment and retainment as we kind of dig into that diverse talent pipeline. That's going to be on November 8th. 10 a.m. Mountain Time. We also have kind of our end of the year wrap up. We'll kind of, keep some surprises there for you as we're kind of wrapping up and giving some ideas about all of the things that we've talked about here in the DEI space in the outdoor industry. That's going to be on December 7th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So save the date for those. Those are coming up soon. Lastly, we want to make sure that we're giving you an opportunity to provide some feedback. The feedback that you have been giving us is valuable as we can continue to grow and develop these conversations and kind of tune into what you all need and what you want. So take some opportunity there to scan, or you can also use the link in the chat there. Thank you so much, Mindy, for helping us out there. Lastly, we want to give an opportunity for our fearless leader and CEO Tiffany to kind of step up and take our closure. I do want to point out that we will be recruiting for the 2024 Allyship late winter. So we're really excited about that. And again, that focus group form will be open. Tiffany, without any further ado, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you all again so much. What a powerful conversation today. I am overjoyed. Thank you to every single voice that shared. Thank you for your transparency and vulnerability. It's going to help tons of people in the industry. As you can see from this conversation, that allyship goes way beyond corporate programs or webinars and things that we're doing now, but it is really a call. It's a call for each of us, especially during Hispanic Heritage Month, to really listen, to learn, and to act, to really embrace the stories and the struggles and successes of everyone. And in doing so, make our shared heritage even richer. So as we collectively pave the way forward, let us champion the essence of both heritage and allyship. Let's build workspaces and communities where every story is celebrated. Every challenge is a stepping stone, and allyship is a bridge to a brighter, more inclusive future. So thank you again for joining our conversations. We will definitely send out the link to this conversation because I am absolutely sure that you're going to want to share this one. So until we meet again, be the change that you want to see. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Tiffany.